Hello, everyone. So this is our sentiment analysis in memory computing, or working with DB2 and R Studio on cloud environment session. And I'm Elena. All right. So hope here is today's agenda. We're gonna talk about do's and don'ts, common error, how to validate your data load. We're gonna talk about SQL refresher, a little bit about RStudio environment, and some troubleshooting. All right. So here I just put a little bit cheat sheet on where to post your questions. Some general questions on due date and how the work is graded. And then like non-software questions, syllabus question, they go to instructor. If you need assistance with launching and using DB2 service, troubleshooting data load errors, R errors, etc., right? IBM cloud account issue, those goes to Salesforce. If you have any questions about your specific grade, you need to email the instructor directly, okay? Now, so some important rules. Please do not submit any tickets to IBM unless instructed, okay? So you need to submit tickets to Salesforce, right? Do not cancel your IBM cloud account, and please do not specify, do not give them credit card number, okay? Do not update R version in the integrated RStudio environment. Please do not add more than one instance of DB2 on cloud service, even if it lets you, because then you'll be confused where you loaded data, etc. All right? Please do not install any R packages without approval. Well, of course, there are packages that you're asked to install. It's different. Do not open R in multiple browsers because you're going to run out of capacity units faster. If the data is loading, sometimes it might take a little bit of longer. Do not stop it, because what happens is when you try to stop it, you start another process and you can create problems, right? Then there is some SQL code. Please do not copy it to Microsoft Word, because Microsoft Word introduces some characters that corrupt the code. Then there is no way to fix, okay? Please try not to use the browser back button, use navigation menu. Do not close on, do not click on X to close the application, because what happens is RStudio, the environment continues running until you actually stop it. And if it continues running, it will consume your capacity hours, all right? So do not spend days on debugging the same error, look for help. Then it's very important. The CSV files that you download from the course content, do not open it, because if it's opened in Excel for a fraction of a second, it's gonna ruin the date formatting. I had to edit the date formatting in a Notepad, right, or TextPad. But if you've opened the file in Excel, that's it. There is nothing you can do to fix it, and the file would not load. It has to do with the date formats. Okay? Now, so let's look at the big picture. What are you gonna do? You're gonna read the data set description and you're gonna define the business problem, right? So in this case, today we're gonna be discussing the new data set, different data set, and the business problem is gonna be the hotel reviews, right? So you're gonna load the data into DB2 database. You're gonna check the load for any errors and messages. And you want to make sure you want to save the screenshot, right? Then you have to check the table metadata, right? We don't verify the load just by comparing one row at a time, because you're going to run out of time, right? So what you have to do is you need to check the metadata, such as number of fields, data types, etc. You want to check the row count, right? Then what you also want to do is, so you're gonna, then next step is you're gonna use the SQL. You're gonna write the meaningful queries to analyze the data. Then you're gonna load data into R, analyze in R. You're gonna interpret your finding, right? You're gonna discuss the experiment limitations, etc. Like, for example, one of the limitation is the sentiment value is pre-populated, right? So there is no way to kind of like see if you could predict the sentiment value and then compare with what is pre-populated. Another limitation is you have a lot of missing data, right? So that's part of it too. Then think about it. Is this data that you're analyzing factual? It's public opinion, right? And then think about the overall limitations of big word text data analysis, okay? Loss of context and etc. Now, so you're gonna use a DB2 on cloud. It allows you up to 200 megabytes free storage. It supports some built-in analytics. So, and it means it has advanced processing, so you don't have to have entire data set in the memory, while it's processing at a very fast speed. All right, it has some to do like data prefetching. So it will prefetch the data before it actually needed. All right. So, and basically, if the data, the chunks of data that don't apply to the queries, they will be skipped. So this is powerful processing, right? Some analysis that can be done is a trend analysis, term association, decision tree, key clustering, etc. Right? The word cloud. Right? So, but you need to be careful here because if you delete the service, you will lose your work, unfortunately. So what work is, you would have to, if you delete the service, when you add another service, you would have to reload the data again, right? And then if you save the SQL code in the environment, it cannot be restored. So please also save your code on your PC, okay? So like here, for example, I have the code for tonight. I have it saved in my PC, not just in a database, okay? Not just in DB2 online, right? So this is a data that we're gonna look at today as an example. And it data stores the hotel information, such as hotel name and the location. And also it's going to store the guests, right? The review, and also the review if it's a negative or positive review sentiment, right? So here is a partial list of columns in the data, and if you want to do some practice when you load the data, okay? Here I just showed you what you need to do. This is, you need to change the length. Well, because what's happening is that when you attempt to upload the file, DB2 will attempt to guess the field length, but it's going to look at the certain first number of records. But, well, during my testing, I noticed that it's wrong. So when I first attempted to load the data, I was getting the errors, and I provided this little fix for you. When you upload the data, you just change the column length. Remember, there is a video right where I show you how to do that. So you need to do something similar to hotel data, and also something similar for your assignment to data. Okay. Now, once the data load is loaded, you're gonna see something like this. That's a screen that you're gonna see. You want to, you're gonna see your schema name. So schema is nothing but your database username. You're gonna see the table name. Then there should be no errors. All right. You're gonna see how many rows were read, and how many rows were loaded, and the number of rows rejected. Sometimes the row can be rejected due to errors, but I fixed all of those for you. But sometimes the error is a warning. The warning does not necessarily stop the load, but certain number of warnings will terminate the load. I believe it's set to 1000. So if you run into 1000 warnings, the load will terminate. But warnings indicate the unexpected results. So what initially happened in the data was there were some new line characters in reviews, so I had to remove. All right, I had to clean up, I had to remove the new line characters because it was suddenly treating the remainder of the text as a new data row, and it was creating problems. All right. So I already did a lot of cleaning before giving the data to you because I don't want you to spend time on cleaning data instead of working on actual assignment, okay? But let me show you. Suppose that you loaded the data and you got distracted and you forgot to take a screenshot. Well, this is not the end of the world. So see here, this is my DB2. What you could do is you go to data here, right? And thank goodness there is a load history. In the past, there was no load history. Now there is. So you don't need to reload the data. I see this here. I have this, and I can just click here, and it's gonna show me the load details. Okay. I just double click and it's gonna show me the load details. Not sure what's going on. Okay, see this? It shows complete. Oh, I have to click on the status. Sorry. Well, see here, this was the hotel review. I see number of rows, right? Rows read, rows loaded. Here it shows me the load rejected, which is 0, no errors, and no warnings. But if there are some errors, you can download the log and it will show you. But good luck, because sometimes it's not descriptive. All right. So then here you can click on view table. However, this is not how we validate the load. You need to do it programmatically. So when I say programmatically, what do I mean? I mean by writing code, okay? So to do that, see here, this is SQL, right? And I believe I saved my file. Okay, so see this, I saved, but somehow I don't see the file that I saved, right? So what I could do is I could just take here and I copy and paste again. Control A, Control C, and Control V. Right, so those are the queries for today. And after this, I'm gonna give you the code, okay? So how do we do this? You need to first check the number of rows in a table, right? Select count star. Count star is going to give you the number of rows, right? And the number of rows here, this is a column alias, and this is the table name, okay? And I don't want to run all, so I have to do just run selected, okay? That will run just one query. Then you go here, click here, and this is going to give you the output. Well, in this case, this is just the number of rows, right? Well, details, it's just gonna tell you who ran this query, which is me, right? This is my schema name. All right. That's a database, and this is the query that I ran. And this is just how long it took, okay? So that's a result set here. And you can go back to the past query results if you want, right? You could go to the history. Okay. Now, next thing is, what is this? There is a table called, there are some tables, metadata tables, that store the information about our data. Sys tables is one of them. The table is stored in a sys IBM schema, right? So this is a system username. and it's gonna store, see this is sys IBM table is a table name. You can pull the table name, table creator time, the time when the table was created, and the number of columns. But you have to do this here. You have to specify the creator is, this is your schema name, and it has to be in the uppercase. And very important, also all table names on column names are stored in metadata tables in the uppercase, okay? So I'm just gonna run this selected thing here, this piece, it ran. I'm gonna click here. This is, okay. Well, what it shows me now is that I have here two tables. This is the table creator, which is me, the time when I created the table. And this is not the row count, this is a column count. This is the number of columns in a table. Well, of course, this table stores more information, but we are not looking at this because this is not the database administration course. If you were in a GBST program, we would have looked at more information here, okay? Then there is another table that stores the information on the columns, on table columns. So here, in this specific case, I want to look at where table creator is me, right? And if you don't remember your schema name, it's right here for you. So table creator is me, right? And the table name is hotel_UU, all right? So I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna do run selected. Let's see what I'm getting in here. This is gonna be, see this is a name, column name. This is a table name. This is gonna be me. A column type, it's a column data type, varchar, right? Null, it means that if the column may contain missing value. Missing value in the database is represented as null, all right? So null means the value is not there. You notice that there are a lot of missing values in this data, right? Lins is a number of characters. Now remember the difference between a varchar and char. So for example, sometimes your field could be 5 characters long, could be 40 characters long, right? Then you want to declare it as a varchar because the space that's actually allocated in memory depends on the length. While if you declare it as character 40, it means that in every single row, it's going to allocate 40 characters regardless of the actual length, okay? So the varchar actually saves you the memory. Well, just know it. It's just FYI, all right? Then latitude and longitude, that's a decimal in this case, all right? So you've got this review text, etc., right? Review title, then review rating, okay? And the field length is 17 in this case. So when you edit the column width, you're never gonna go wrong if you make it a little bit wider than eyesight. Well, because see, if you make it too small, then you're gonna get the if the column width is too small for the data to be loaded, then that specific data entry won't be loaded, and it's gonna be a warning, right? But when you get certain number of warnings, the load is gonna terminate. So I already did that little bit of testing for you and told you what to set the length, okay? Now, so this table, this columns, it gives you the metadata about the columns. But please note that the column names and the table name is stored in the uppercase in this here. Well, in general, when you run a query, right, you put from table name, you don't need it, it's case insensitive, right? When you use a table name in a from clause, it's case insensitive. But in this case, this is a metadata table, so it's a case sensitive here. All right. So next thing, here is just talking about the programmatic validation. Programmatic means by writing the code, okay? You're not gonna do select star. You're not gonna be selecting all data and comparing one row at a time with original file, because then you're going to run out of time for the assignment. It's going to take forever. We don't do that. Well, other things that you can do is a frequency count, for example, right, etc. Now, suppose that I loaded the table and I did something wrong, okay? I made a mistake, and well, something did not go back well, did not go well, and I want to do it all over. Well, it's possible. What you do here, there are multiple ways. You can go to the data, you can go to tables, right? This is your username, you're gonna click here. Then, this is my table, I'm gonna click on this. And there is an option to, see, I click here, and there is an option to drop. It's not delete, it's drop. We're gonna use correct terminology here, because drop table removes the table structure and the data in it, okay? Delete is just gonna remove the data, it will not remove the table structure. So the correct terminology is drop. To redo, you're gonna go in here, you're gonna drop table, I'm not gonna do that now. But you drop the table and you reload, right? Another option is, but I don't recommend, I recommend to redo the whole thing, because sometimes the error involves the column width, all right? But also when you load the data, right? So like, for example, in here, when you do this, I believe I have it on a desktop. So I'm just gonna pick it up, and I'm gonna click on next. See this? It's gonna show the tables that you have, right? And when you upload the data here, right, I select the table, you have an option. You can overwrite or you can append, right? Just know it for the quiz. You can append or you can overwrite, okay? But there is no way to replace half of the data. You cannot. What you can do is you either append new data or you can override, okay? I'm not gonna do that, I'm gonna go back, right? But well, remember some important concept here. Source is the file where the data is being loaded from, right? Target is where the data is going to. Define step, you define the mappings, which which column in a CSV file goes to which table, right? Go to which column in CSV file goes to which column in the table. It's a mapping, right? And then you finalize. The data actually loads, and you look at the statistics, right? How many rows loaded, number of errors, etc. So you need to submit the screenshot that shows a load. Very important. Well, unless there is an issue beyond our control, right? Well, but I just showed you it was working perfectly. You want to get the screenshot that shows the load start and end time. It's very important, right? We need to know how long the load took, all right? So this is just about that. But here I showed you how to drop table, right? Through the menu, right? So but generate DML option, it is basically what that will do. It will just generate the code to insert data. Remember the differences? DDL is a data definition language, write the code to create tables. And DML is a data manipulation language, such as running queries, inserting data, etc., right? So this is how you can delete data from the table programmatically. Well, you can write this truncate table hotel review immediate. What this will do is truncate is gonna remove all data from hotel review table, and it will also reclaim the space the data was occupying. All right. And if you put this word immediate, the space will be reclaimed. But if you just delete, the space may not be reclaimed immediately. So just know that. This is a good interview question, the difference between delete, drop, and truncate. So delete, you delete the data, right? And the entry gets written into the recovery log, and you can, in general, you can recover, right? If you have a recovery log, it can be recovered. Well, not for this assignment, but in general, just know it. If you're database administrator, usually the deletions can be recovered. It only if you use delete command. If you use truncate command, then the data is deleted, the space is reclaimed, and no entry is written into the log, right? Drop command is going to remove the table structure and table data. So just remember this. It's a very good interview question if you're going to be working with database. Select star command. Well, here, mainly while I'm doing it here is to show you that truncate command removed all the data from the table, okay? Alternatively, I could just do select count star. It's much better. A count star is going to return the number of rows in a table, right? So it's much better because suppose that the data was not deleted. We are not selecting all data. See, since in reality, you would have probably millions of records, right? So think of it, you're analyzing the data sample, right? So you're not going to have time to verify each row, but there are approaches such as frequency counts and etc. All right. And this is just how to drop table. You can write this programmatically. All right. I showed you how to do through interface, but I also need to show you how to do it while with writing the code. All right. Well, this is where you access the load history, right? Things happen. Sometimes you load and you forget to take a screenshot. You can return to the history. At some point, it was not the case, and poor students had to redo the load to take screenshot, right? It's sad. So no, now you can go to the load history and get that information. Okay. Today we're gonna do a big review of the SQL. Okay. And well, I think my knowledge of SQL is a little bit more on advanced side because I've been working with SQL for a long time, and also my degree is in the GBST area. So I want to share more knowledge with you. Okay, so now those are the clauses of the select statement. Well, there is also a with clause, but don't worry about it here. Let's look at it. So first of all, select. What does select do? We specify the delimited list of columns that you want to appear in the output. But in the columns that you're actually selecting does not have to be pulled straight from the table. It could be the calculated column, all right? Then next one is a from. From specifies the column, delimited list of tables that you want to, from which you want to select the data. And also, you can define the table join in a from clause in general. But here, don't worry, none of the queries that you're going to be doing here require joins. So that's a good news for you, right? But see, like every SQL statement, very important. You must have select and from clause. Because if you don't specify what you're selecting and where you're getting it from, there is no way to do the query, right? Then here, this is another common interview questions. The difference between where clause and having clause, okay? So, where clause, what it does, it filters the row. And also you use it to specify the table join condition, but mainly remember you're filtering specific row. Where review is positive, right? So that's gonna filter out, it will return the rows only that meet condition in a where clause. And the where clause can have multiple conditions. You use a logical operator and or and not, right? You can do that. Like, for example, where location is Washington, D.C., and rating is positive. I'm just giving you an example, but I'll show you actual example. Next thing, group by. This is used for the data aggregation, right? In actual example, suppose that I wanted to calculate the average grade for each assignment in data 650, right? So what I'll have to do is I would have to list assignment name. Then in a group, in a select clause, I would have to use the average function, right? And in a group by, I would have to put what? The assignment name, because I'm summarizing the data by assignment name, right? All right. Having is gonna filter out the, it's gonna filter out the groups. It does not filter the specific rows, all right? Like, for example, suppose that there are multiple sessions of data 650, and I calculated the average assignment 2 grade for each session, right? Then suppose that I want to list only the session where students' grade average is above 90. Here, I would have to use the having clause because I'm not excluding individual student grades. I'm excluding the groups, right? I'm excluding the averages. I use having clause. Order by is a comma delimited list of columns that on which we're going to sort the data. But in some databases, and I believe it's the case in DB2 too, you can put, instead of column name, you can put the column position in a select clause. That works too, all right? So you know, each select statement must have at least select and from clause, right? You need to make sure that the spelling of the table names is correct, right? Like, for example, if my table name is hotel review, if I try to select data from hotels review, I'm going to get an error because I put the invalid table name. Same goes for the column names, all right? You want to make sure that they are valid. If you're getting an error, you need to double check the column names and table names, right? And make sure that your clauses in the correct order. So now we're going to look at specific example, and I'm going to run it too. But what it's doing in here, there's a column called category, right? And there's a column, there's a column called name, which is a hotel name. Table name is a hotel review. And see this? I want to select only the rows where review rating is neutral. Now remember this here, these values are case sensitive. So you want to check the spelling. Is it neutral all in lowercase, or is it neutral all in uppercase? But the right way to do is actually to take this review rating to the uppercase and spell this neutral to the uppercase. You want to try to make this case insensitive comparison. I forgot to do that, okay? Here, what it's doing also, see this and. So for the and, two conditions must be true. And it's checking if username contains the word traveler. It's taking it to the uppercase because if traveler is spelled in lowercase, I want the row to be returned also, okay? So let's see if I have this query in, no. I'm gonna go back to SQL. See, now it's here, but for some reason, it did not save it. Okay, now I'm gonna go back here. Let's see. Well, this is an example with two conditions in a where clause. See this? So now let's run this. Notice that some words are in blue. Those are the reserved words, but for some reason it still worked here. In some databases, it won't work if the column name is a reserved word unless you put it in the quotes. But here it works. Let's just do run selected and see what happens. I run selected. Then I'm gonna go here and see the results. Well, see that, how do you verify it? Is Well, first of all, if you see here the username that does not contain the word traveler, it means that you need to go back to the drawing board. Your query is wrong, right? If you see review rating that is not neutral, you need to go back to the drawing board, okay? So you want to verify that your query is correct as much as possible, all right? So here is the data, and well, it shows 50 per page, but there are also like 5 pages here. But you don't need to see all again. We don't have time to review all data, right? But see this? Sometimes you have missing values, review text is missing, right? Etc. Next thing, I hope it's in the same order as in a script, but this is just it's a group by, right? How many times each hotel is mentioned in my data? I have to do group by. One thing to remember that it's gonna be you're gonna be 99% of time correct if you put each non-grouping column, each non-aggregate column in select clause goes to the group by clause, right? So look at the columns here, name, and this is just number of times mentioned. It's aggregate, right? You're summarizing how many times each hotel name was mentioned. And you're summarizing it on what? On a hotel name. So hotel name goes to group by. This is a grouping column. And this is just where category is hotels, right? Table name is hotel review. So if you go back to the code, it's in, it's a little bit in a different order. So what this code is doing here, this is doing something different that I did not show you in a slide, but you have to do it in your assignment too. First of all, you want to know which review ratings you have in your, you need to know which review ratings you have in your data, right? So what you need to do this select distinct review rating from hotel. So what distinct does, it eliminates the duplicate in the output, right? So in here, you click here, so you know that unlike in your airline tutorial, you have negative, neutral, positive, slightly negative, and slightly positive. So those are the review ratings in this data, right? But you see that's what you want. So you want to pay attention because the review ratings in the assignment 2 data may or may not be the same. Okay. Oh, but this is a group by here. What it's doing here, it's showing how many reviews of each sentiment you have, right? So it's going to list, like for example, I see here, I just see the list of review rating values. But I want to see next to each value, I want to see how many rows, how many reviews does it apply to. So let's just do this. And let's see, you're going to do run selected here. Okay. So see this? But why am I getting this blank row? Well, because you have some records where review rating is unknown, okay? And there are multiple ways to handle this. You may exclude the rows with unknown review rating, or you may treat this category as unknown, right? You can use NVL function. I believe I have an example here, right? So, and we'll get to it. But here, oh, it's here. Take a look at it. If the rating is missing, right, the rating is null. And first of all, I want to know how many reviews are missing the rating. So I need to do this. Select count star, right? Count star will do the count. And then this one is just, I put it alias, I put column alias. I want to show it as missing rating. This is a table name, and I want to look at where review rating is null. I'm going to run selected, and let's see what's happening. I'm going to take this here. I know that now. I know that there are 80, right? I have 80 rows where the hotel rating is unknown, okay? Well, here I need to, in my paper, I need to explain what I'm going to do from now on. Am I going to treat the nulls as a separate category called unknown, or am I just going to omit them altogether, all right? Well, it depends on other analysis that you are doing, because sometimes if you skip rows with missing values, you might end up skipping other important information, okay? Well, so here, this is what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to NVL function. This is going to recode if this review rating is null, it's going to count it as if it was unknown. That's what it's doing here, okay? And then here, well, I do it count one because if you put count star, star is going to ignore the missing values, right? So let's run this here, run selected. Okay, so let's see what's going to happen here. Well, see here now, I'm getting the missing values as expected because what I did was I put the NVL in here, okay? And I said that if this is null, I want to treat it to unknown, all right? You can also use, in some databases, you can use coalesce. And in some databases, it's if null. But NVL works here, all right? So count one. Well, basically, what is one? This is like a dummy column with a value 1, right? And this is just, this is table name, and that's a column. I want to count it by review rating. Alternatively, I could just take this here, and I could copy this. It will work also, all right? So this is number of rows per sentiment values if you have missing values, right? So next one, so this is going to be something similar. You're going to have something similar in assignment question, but not hotel, but different data. Now I want to know how many times each hotel was mentioned. How do I do it? I want to show in the first column, I want to show the hotel name. In the next column, I want to show how many times that hotel was mentioned. So in the select clause, I have name, right? This is a count. This is an aggregation. This is how I'm summarizing. This is the table name. Category is hotel, and then group by name, right? So now I'm going to just do run selected, and let's see what happens. So here it is. Oops, I'm looking at the wrong one. So I have to go to my history, right? That's the last query that ran. So see, this is it's listing the hotel name, and it's listing how many times it was mentioned, right? Okay. Well, but keep in mind that it's quite possible to have the hotel name blank also. Then you would have to do the NVL, right? And you could treat the blank hotel name as unknown, or you can just eliminate those rows in the query. It depends on how many rows you had. Okay. Now, this one, I was talking about the having clause. So see here, I'm listing all hotels here and how many times they're mentioned. But suppose I want to look only at the popular hotels. I want to list only the hotels that were mentioned more than 50 times. How do I do it? Am I going to use the where clause? No, because I need to filter the summary, right? So I have to use here, I have to use the having clause. Having count greater than 50. See this? I select the hotel name, how many times it mentioned. From this goes the table name. Where category is hotel, well, it's because the data has other stuff in it. So I'm now only interested in hotels. Group by name, right? And this is a having. So just remember that part. Then here we just show you how many times each sentiment was mentioned. But here in this example, we are just it's going to show how many times each sentiment value was mentioned, but you're skipping the missing values, right? Not null, see? But in your paper, you have to explain how you are treating missing values. It's important, okay? And you want to be consistent. Are you omitting them across the board, or are you treating them as a separate category, okay? And this is just how many times each sentiment was mentioned, right? And we're going to count, this will include the records missing the sentiment. Instead of count one, what I did was I just put this column here. See, I wanted to be more explicit, and I put this column here. Okay, and here I just copied this because in theory, remember I told you that every non-aggregate columns must appear in here, right? If you do it this way, 99% you're gonna be correct. Here, what I'm also doing here, notice that order by, you can specify the column position in a query. In this case, this count, I want to order by count, and the count is in the second position here. So I'm just gonna run this one, run selected. Okay. So in here, this is just it's gonna sort by ascending by default. If I wanted to, I can also specify the descending. Okay. Well, in this case, there are no nulls, but if there are nulls, I can specify what I want to do with nulls. If I want them to appear last, or if I want them to appear first, I can say something like nulls last or nulls first in the order by clause. Okay, just know that it's possible. Okay, so next thing, it's gonna be hard. But let's see if we are ready for it. Let's see if there is something simpler. Well, let's go back to the slides. There's going to be a query that is hard, and I want you to know how to do it, okay? Oh, but before we do this, I forgot that there is also another one where you can have more than two grouping columns. In this specific scenario, well, what are we doing is we want to show the province name, we want to show the review rating and the number of records. What are we doing here? Let's think about it. We're grouping by two columns, right? We are summarizing the data by what? The province review rating. Both columns go to group by clause. Do you remember you had ungraded SQL exercise? So eventually that exercise is going to be graded, all right? So see this is a province in review rating, and these two columns are going to appear in a group by clause, right? See? So here, basically, I want to show in the first column, I want to show province. In the second column, I want to show records. And then I want to show rating. And in the third column, I want to show the number of records in the province in first column with review rating in the second column, right? So that's what it does in here. Just know you can group by more than one column, right? Next thing, this is a little bit tough, but you need to know how to do it. I want to have one row. I want to have one row for hotel. Then I want to have a separate column for review rating. And in this case, please assume that the review rating values are known, okay? But I don't want to list one row for each sentiment. What I want to do is I want to list one row per hotel. First column, I want to list the number of positive mentions of hotel in a first column, right? Third column is number of slightly positive mentions of hotel in the first column, right? So we're doing that. Then we have to decide what we're going to do with missing values. We can create column called unknown, right? And this is a total. when you verify your work, you want to make sure that this total matches the sum of these columns, okay? And also this total needs to match the data returned by the query that returns how many times each hotel was mentioned, okay? So how do we do this query? Well, there are multiple steps. Let's just look at the preparation. The preparation step is in on here. So what we are doing, hold on. I have to go back up. So, okay, so here is a preparation. What I could do is this. I could look at it. If the review rating in question is positive, then in the first column, I want to show 1. So let's run this and I'll show you. This is a whole query and I'm going to run this, run selected. Okay. Okay, and I'm going to click on this output. So that's the output. So what I want to do is it's a preparation. I look at the first record. If the review is positive, I want to show number 1 in the first column and 0 in the others. If a review is neutral, I want to show 1 in this column and zeros in the other columns, right? So that's what it's doing. You can use the case statement. See here? So I display review rating. In the next column, I show 1, right, if it's a positive, 0 if it's not positive. Next one, I look if it's slightly positive. If it is, I show 1. If it's not, I show 0. So this is basically like a preparation. You can also create a view with this data, right? But how do I know how many times each hotel was mentioned positively? Just think about it. Each row where the rating is positive will have number 1 in this column, in this pseudo column, right? In this column. So how do I know how many positive? I have to take the sum, don't I? Don't I need to take the sum? Yes, I do, right? I just take a sum and it's going to give me the number of positive mentions for that hotel. If I'm going to do the grouping by hotel, I'm not doing it in this query first because this query is just a preparation to show you what those are, right? Because in a select clause, you can have the calculated columns and you can have more than one summary columns. Just remember that. So this is a preparation, right? Now what I'll do, I'm going to take this final query. I'm going to remove the rating column value, right? Then what I'll do here, I'll just going to add the sums in here. And also, I want to add the group by, and the group by is going to be the name, right? It's a hotel name. So let's select this query and let's run this. And let's see what's happening, right? So let's do run selected. So that's going to just list, okay, this, and again, see this? But what I did not do here is that, oh yeah, I accounted for null here. But I'm having a problem because it's not actually counting the nulls. What I had to do is I had to use NVL, remember? Remember, I had to use the NVL, okay? Well, here it's just doing, it's selecting, if it's null, then it's just doing 1, okay? So that's what it does, and then here, it's a total. But the total must match the sum of these columns. And it also must match the data returned by your other query, okay? So this is, okay, then this is just null. This is just showing you the null, okay? See, because when you do the count star, it ignores the null, right? But when you do it like this, right, if you run it like this, let's see, run selected, come on. Okay, see here, this will not ignore the null, right? It shows you null values, but the problem is it's not counting correctly. So again, you would have to put the NVL function here, okay? Oh, another thing I forgot to say is this. If there are missing values, you can specify how you want to do that. You want to do the nulls last, right? You can specify missing values last or nulls first. And what this does here, upper, because sometimes the name of the same hotel could appear uppercase, sometimes lowercase. I don't want to bother, I don't want to worry if it's upper or lower in the data. I just want to treat them all as the same, right? Okay. Well, this is just, it's that example from the slides where you have 2 grouping columns, okay? You can have 3 grouping columns, you can have multiple, okay? So see, that's a count. You're showing 2 fields, right? Now we're gonna go back to slides. There are more material here. What is a subquery? A subquery is a query inside the query. Subquery might return 1 values, right? It's just 1 row and 1 column. It can return the list of values, or it can return the virtual table. And you can put the subquery in a select from and where and having clause of the main query. If you think that you can put it in an order by or group by, I need to see working example, because you cannot. Just remember this. This is also interview question and maybe the quiz question. The subquery can be placed in select from where and having clause of the main query. Usually, if it's a where clause or having clause, it could be the single value, right? The single value comparison. But usually virtual table subquery is going to go to the from clause, all right? So let's look at more examples. Well, here, it's an example of the list of subquery. I want to know the provinces that do not have any positive rating. How do you do that? First of all, the subquery, you need a subquery to find out which provinces have the positive rating, right? Subquery will return a list of provinces that have positive rating. And then the outer query, it's going to look for provinces that are not in the list that inner query returns. So let's go back in here. Here. Oh, this one is a little bit different. Okay. Oh, it's in here. Provinces that do not have the positive rating. But what it does in here, this one, it's a subquery, right? In general, you could run the subquery, right? The subquery returns a list. Then we basically take this list and plug it in here. But the problem is the list can change, right? So you want this to work dynamically. So that's why you're going to put this subquery in here. Okay? So this is a subquery. And the subquery may contain another subquery. Okay? So do run selected. And I look in here. This is the list returned. Okay? Okay? Now, let's see here. So this is just the value list. Oh, this is a little bit more. This is a virtual table subquery. So what I'm doing here, I want to select the average number of posts per hotel name. So the average number of positive posts. So what I'm doing here is the subquery is going to return the hotel name and the number of positive reviews for that hotel, right? So this is what the subquery returns. It returns a table like this. Then I'm using the table like this as an input to an outer query, and it's going to do the average. Okay, that's what it's doing. I want to know the average number of positive posts in each hotel. So to find that out, I have here the inner query that lists this little subtable, right? The hotel name and the number of positive posts. And here, see, I put it in a from clause, and this is doing the average. But then I can take the step further. I can select the hotels, I want to know which hotels have above average number of positive posts. Then I need to use this piece here as a subquery. See this? I want to use it as a subquery. It's in here, see? I use it as a subquery and I use it in a having clause. See, it's a single value. It returns the average number of positive posts per hotel. Remember that query was on another slide, and I can use that here. See this? It shows the name and the count, the number of positive posts, right? From hotel, where rating is positive. But in here, I use that subquery because I want to list only the hotels that have above average number of positive posts. So in a query, you need to know what the average is, right? But to get the average, you need to know how many positive posts are in each hotel. So this is the 3 steps, okay? And you can have multiple nestings, so just know this. Okay, now I wanted to mention some important points for RStudio. You want to make sure that you select the collect environment. Well, at the moment, I think there's only one environment, thank goodness. It consumes 1 capacity unit per hour. I need to warn you that they have been re-imaging the environment a lot. So because if you get in the memory errors, what you can do is you can just run one method at a time. And when you're done with that method, clear everything out and run another method, right? You can clear everything from the environment, then read the data again, do data pre-processing for that method, and do one method at a time. That happened last semester for some reason. They put the limit on memory. So then if it's the case, you would have to do one method at a time, okay? And remember that the script that you were given, it just gives you examples. That's not something that you're going to copy and paste for your assignment 3, okay? You just want to choose 2 methods. Choose only 2. And choose the ones that you're able to get to work, of course. Do not choose all methods, choose 2. That will save you hours. You will use hours wisely, right? Then one thing is keep in mind that the parameters you use to run the method are different for your data. Like, for example, if you look at the airline airline tutorial, I'm running the association rule methods without specifying parameters. But if you apply this code directly to assignment 3 data, the problem is you're going to get only 2 rules returned. Why? Well, what you have to do, you need to do some adjustments. Go do some research on which input parameters the method takes and do some adjustments. Running it with default won't work, right? So what you also want to focus on for each method that you use, you want to interpret the output. If it's association rules, you want to discuss those metrics, right? What does it tell about the rules? Which rules are interesting you found, right? So that's one of the options, all right? But, well, here is just sometimes RStudio will show you the disk utilization. Do yourself a favor, delete what you no longer need. Like, for example, here, well, notice that in the environment you can swap between grid view and list view. I like the grid view because I can see the size of actual objects. Like in here, I have huge matrix size, right? I want to delete it to free the memory. Remember, rm command will remove the object programmatically, right? Another thing is that if you're getting an error, if you're unable to create a matrix of this size, you want to run the command to remove sparse terms, right? You want to remove sparse terms from the matrix. In the past, there were less limitations on the memory for student account, but now you may need to remove sparse terms and look at the parameter, okay? Once you're done with text analysis, you want to remove this from memory because you want to reduce the disk usage, okay? Another thing is that if you have plots that you no longer need, you need to delete them. You want to delete them. Take a screenshot, right? Save the screenshot and delete. And if you no longer need the object storage files, you can also do delete, but don't worry about that at the moment. Now, you have to exit RStudio properly. We've talked about the same concept for the for Spark. Remember, the counter is going up. If you keep running the environment, the capacity hours is going to go up, 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 up. And for RStudio, if you don't stop, you're going to lose 2 hours until the session times out. It's a 2 hours timeout time. So you're just going to burn 2 hours. So please do yourself a favor, stop the environment. And if you forgot, immediately log into your account, right? And it's the same location as last time. You want to go to manage and you want to make sure that no environments are running, okay? Spark consumed 1.5 and this consumes 1. Years ago, it was only half, but now it's 1. It is what it is. Okay, but trust me, none of us is gonna spend 10 hours writing the code for this assignment, okay? If you do, it means you're doing something wrong, right? Prepare the code ahead of time. You are given the code for the sentiment analysis. You're just running the code, right? You're given. But for the assignment 3, you just choose a couple methods and some visualizations, all right? If, for example, you're having trouble running with network of terms, just then don't pick that method for your assignment 3, right? Well, it happens. Just pick whatever you're comfortable with. That's one way to save the hours, okay? And this one is what you see if there are no active environments running at a moment, okay? Well, this is just a little bit of fun that was added to the code recently. If you're looking at the network of terms detection, you want to run the community analysis, okay? This part of the code, this piece of the code is just to get the community analysis, which terms appear together in the same document, right? That's what this visualization does. Just a little bit emphasize, because if you do work on the network of terms, you need to discuss the community detection, right? Which terms appear in the same document, all right? And this is a little bit of the troubleshooting. When you first create the DB2 service, you need to add credentials. If you don't see the credentials part, if you don't see where you can add the credentials, it means that you are logged in from the data platform, right? From Cloud Pak instead of IBM Cloud. You need to be on IBM Cloud when you add the service. It's very important, right? Remember, there's a difference between Cloud Pak and IBM Cloud. On Cloud Pak, you don't manage services. You use the services for analysis. But if you need to do things like manage service, you go to IBM Cloud, right? So if you don't see the option for credential, it means that you might be logged into Cloud Pak, okay? Well, this is just the example of an error. It's okay. What's happening here is in R, it's possible that you may have more than one, the same method may appear in more than one package that is loaded in memory. So here you have inspect function for the association rules, and you have inspect function for the text analysis, right? For the document. So what you need to do in this case, you need to qualify the function name with the package name. This is what I'm doing here. For example, to be sure that I'm calling inspect function in a rule package, I just specify the package name, see this double column, and this is the function name, okay? Remember this for your assignment. If you're using multiple packages, sometimes the same function may appear in more than one package. Then you have to qualify the function name with the package name. That's how you do it. Okay? Oh, this is another one problem. If you misspelled something, right? Like in here, I'm running the query and I'm spelling with ID without the underscore, and I'm getting an error. So to figure out what the problem is, I would have to look at the actual column names. See this? It's an underscore, and I need to change to underscore. See, I have to have the same spelling, because otherwise it does not know what I'm trying to select. Okay? This is a undefined name error. It's going to happen when you specify, you spell the table name incorrectly. Just know that. Then, okay, some additional tips. You want to save a copy of all code in your PC. Do not rely on saving the code just in a server, right? Please use Notepad or TextPad editor for the code, right? But do not use the rich text editor, because it's going to add some bad characters such as Microsoft Word quote, and then some characters cannot be seen and very difficult to fix the code, okay? You want to follow instructions, and please go beyond examples in the walkthrough, but please make sure you meet minimum requirements first. And you know that the best way to get something done is to begin. You need to start working on this assignment early. Make sure you do all the readings, etc., right? Those are some useful R commands. Library is going to show you list of installed packages. Search is going to show the packages that you have in memory, right? So this command is going to clear the console window. This will remove all variables or everything from memory. And C, it's a combined command. Just remember this. It will combine the specified values into the vector, okay? So I talked for more than an hour. Right now, it's going to be your turn. Do you have questions? Folks, please, it's your opportunity to ask me questions, because the main one reason for this was questions. But first, I address the questions that everybody else might have. Now it's your opportunity. So I'm trying to see who is here. Okay. Guys, please ask your questions. You may, since it's a small group, you may unmute yourself to ask questions, or you may also post questions in the chat. Okay. Please go ahead and think about what your questions are. So let's see. Yes, the PowerPoint, I'm going to give the PowerPoint to instructor, and I'm also going to give this code to instructor and a file, the data file. It will be available together with recording, but for the recording, it takes a little bit of time for recording to become available on the server. So when the recording is available, I'm going to load this. DB2 does not have capacity hours. Excellent question. So please take advantage of the fact that DB2 does not have capacity hours, and please do ungraded SQL exercises. They will help you with assignment 3, and also you will take away more. That's another thing. And another thing is that there are some questions in the quiz on the output that some ungraded exercises return. So because there are no capacity hours, DB2 does not use capacity hours. So please take advantage and learn as much as you can from this. This piece do not use capacity hours, and also assignment 4 does not use capacity hours. So that's good news, right? R uses capacity hours, but not DB2. No in the world. Okay? Because this is the database. Okay? This is not the Spark or the R engine. That's the database that you're running a query against, okay? So for that one, just practice, okay? And you have to do the analysis for your data also, so no worries in this part. Another thing is that if you run out of hours, you can still do the SQL part, okay? There is a part of this assignment that you can still do if you're out of hours. But again, we cannot add hours. If you run out, I'm so sorry. I'm truly sorry. If you run out, there is nothing we can do to add, and you would have to work with professor. What you're gonna do, like work on the next month and etc. You have to negotiate with instructor. Okay? But we cannot add hours. That's what it is. Assignment 4 does not use any capacity hours. Does not. Okay? So you have all of these hours for assignment 3, correct? Correct. Because assignment 4, you don't need to use the capacity hours. And you will see why later. Okay? Assignment 4, it's a fun. You will be developing the chatbot. So no capacity hours, yes. Well, there is something like number of API calls, but we don't mention it because none of the students in the past hit the 1/10 of the limit of the API call. So don't worry. Assignment 4 is no capacity hours at all. And just for this, just for the R piece, not for the DB2. So take advantage of it. Practice SQL, okay? That piece you can practice. In the past, what happened was we had an ability to, instead of uploading data to object storage, we could read data directly into R from database. This is what was happening in the past. Not anymore. It's not supported anymore. But in the past, we read data from the database straight. That's why you will see some readings on using R with databases, because in theory, this is how you would do it. You would read the data from the database straight, and you would run analysis. You would only read the data that applies to analysis you are running, right? So you would need to open the database connection. Then you would have some kind of like a variable or database object into which you read, right? You would read data into data frame, right? Then you would do analysis on the data frame, etc. Right? You don't get an opportunity to practice this. You upload the data straight to the object storage, but in the past, there was a way to read it straight from the database, which I like it more actually, okay? You read straight from the database, and when you don't need it, you just clear it, not from environment, etc. Okay? So just that's the reason why you have the reading on working with R from databases, because this is ideal way how you would do it in a work environment. You would read data straight from database table. Sometimes you're doing some analysis and you could also write results in another database table. Okay, just keep that in mind that in real life it's possibility. Okay? Anything else? Please ask me questions, guys. I'm here for questions now. And make sure you start working on assignment early, right? You have to do the quiz, auto-graded quiz first. And some questions do repeat. Some questions in a graded quiz are taken verbatim from the auto-graded quiz. Just hint, okay? Or maybe not quite verbatim, but there are some similarities. Okay? And for the auto-graded quiz, you have unlimited number of attempts. When you reattempt, you might get some different questions. So even if you did well on the first time, you could try to do it again to see different questions, okay? But the grade that gets recorded in the gradebook is the highest attempt, all right? So just know that. Any other questions, please? Well, I'm here to help you. So you need to ask me questions while I'm here. Or then you need to submit the ticket. Do not ask IBM to help you with code. They don't know your homework, okay? Any other questions? No? Well, you may also unmute yourself and speak, whatever way works for you. If there are no questions, then I'm going to end this session, and your instructor is going to get the recording, the slides, this code, and a copy of the hotel data. Okay, will that work? Hopefully. All right, so I'm going to stop the recording, and